Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performers Podcast. I'm your host, Thor Conklin, and today we have Megan Harrison. Through her digital agency, online training courses, and live workshops, Megan helps entrepreneurs scale their business by turning their expertise into highly profitable online courses. Megan, I love the lane that you're in. As a matter of fact, our team is actually working diligently as I speak on a lot of our online courses as well, because what we realized was we started out to be executive coaching, profitability consulting, but so much of the work required, quite frankly, my time. And the type of clients that we were serving were at the higher level. So it worked from a profitability standpoint. But what I realized is I wasn't looking to build an organization where I had multiple coaches or consultants throughout the organization. And the content that we were providing to our highest clients really was applicable to even the startup. We just didn't have a delivery platform in order to do that. So it all happened at ClickFunnels this year. The light bulb went off and I said, wait a second, we have all this content. We just don't have a delivery system for it. So you and I met, I don't know if it was a couple of years ago or this last year at Date with Destiny. Started to see what you were doing. I said, absolutely, I got to reach out to you and I got to get you on the podcast because I think so many companies are out there. Matter of fact, I just had a phone call with another client, unrelated. He sells medical products. And he's traveling all over the country trying to figure out, going to the individual doctor's offices, teaching them how to implement the new products. I'm like, man, you can't do that. It's not scalable. You've got to figure a way to create an online system that you can deliver this stuff. So anyway, this is your interview. Tell the audience what you do, and then what sort of changes have you seen with your clients as a result of adopting online courses?
Yeah, well, you pretty much nailed it. Is we help companies scale by turning what they're doing already into a business model that can be now sold over and over again without having to trade more time for money. And I think initially we start just thinking about, when you think about online courses, or just thinking about creating a course to sell something as a revenue stream. But there's really all these other like strategic reasons why you can incorporate a course within your business model. Whether it's like able to make more direct sales now, because now you don't have to travel all over the country teaching people how to use the medical devices, or actually selling, again, like physical products. I've had a company that sold a makeup, like airbrush makeuping system, and they created online courses for the actual makeup instructor, or the makeup, what would you call them? Beauticians or application. Yeah. Teaching people, or like professional makeup artists. Artist is the word I was looking for. All right. Teaching them how to use the system, because the more comfortable they felt, like the more they would use that equipment, and then they make their money from the residuals, like the application refills and things of that nature. So there's so many different strategies for incorporating it, but I guess the number one reason is, like, through the magic of technology and the internet, we can reach as many people as we want to. And so taking your expertise, extracting your wisdom, and putting it into a platform that's now able to be delivered anywhere, anytime, it's like magic happens.
You know, let's talk about the business owner out there that is not utilizing online courses right now. Where do you start? Do you start with a consultation with you and then map out a plan of where do you want this to go, what the idea is? A lot of people are confused because it's like, all right, where do I host this thing? How do I do it? What kind of lighting do I need? What kind of camera? And they become very overwhelmed with the entire process. How do you break that down for them?
Well, I guess first and foremost, you need to figure out, like, what is the need that you're serving? So figuring out who is that target customer going to be, where are they now, and then where do they want to be? And what are those milestones that they need to, or what type of actions do they need to take in order to get from A to Z? And that then becomes your core structure of your program. So I think it's the most important to start with the actual content first, because that's what really matters. And then you can get into, like, the intricacies of, like, what membership platform to use and what lighting, everything that you just mentioned. But first you have to get through the content. And so that's where I would recommend starting.
It's something I talk about all the time, and that is, everybody wants this thing to be great right from the beginning.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, look, as soon as the first time you do this, it's going to be, how can I put it? You're going to suck at it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be good at it, right? It's just like,
yeah.
All you got to do is go back to episode number 1 of our podcast, and I cringe every time I see it. It's like, oh, please just take that down. But it's a reminder that we don't start off great. And I love what you say is it's all about the content. The lighting doesn't have to be perfect. The audio, should be pretty good. The better it is. But that's not really what sells it. It's about the connection that you're making with your audience. Feel real.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, so many people fall in that trap, and I fell into that trap. I still do, but even I'm getting out of it, where you just feel like you need to be like a perfectionist. And I think one of the ways like that really helped me is looking at it and be like, every time that I'm not producing or like executing or taking action, I'm literally throwing money down the drain. And I've proven that by like just getting on Facebook Live randomly, like walking down the street, and then sales start coming in. I'm like, how many times do I have to do that over and over again? It doesn't, I mean, it's important at some points to have that professionalism and like the beautiful design in certain areas, but a lot of times it's just so much better just to do it. And then you can start becoming better and better and paying money on hiring professional videographers and photographers and things of that nature. But just getting one foot in front of the other is the first step.
Yeah, I'm working out with a trainer. I'm doing this year's physical challenge is going to be a bodybuilding show. Which,
oh, wow.
Yeah, which I'm kind of freaking out about because I have to lose a lot of fat and get muscle. So I hired a professional, right? A coach that actually is going to walk me through the process. And he's got 250,000 Instagram followers, like real followers, not he's a Mr. Olympian and everything. I said, what are you going to monetize this? And he goes, nothing. I'm like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I said, you obviously can't keep doing these training one-on-one like you're doing with me because you run out of time.
Yeah.
Do you have a virtual program? He goes, oh yeah, I have a virtual program. I said, how many of those can you actually do a month? He said, I can do about 100 at $250 a piece. I worked it out. I said, okay, that's a $300,000 a year business just by doing the virtual piece. So I said, what are you doing to promote it? He goes, well, nothing. I said, all right, grab your phone. He goes, well, what do you want me to do? So I said, all I want you to do is do pro tips of the day. Just get on there and say, hey, here's a pro tip of the day. So he goes, okay, I'll do that. I said, okay, I'll wait. And he's training me, so I'm working out. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I'll wait. You're going to do the first one now. And it's funny because it's been a couple of weeks. And even today we were doing something else. He was opening up some more slots for it. And I said, you need to send out a notification that you're going to be reopening this thing. He goes, okay, I'll do that. Hello. I'll wait. And he goes, it's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. So I love that message. Just do it.
Yeah.
They're the best ones, right?
Yeah. I mean, they really are. Usually I'll do like the Facebook Live, which would be my off the cuff version. And then I'll go and turn it into a more polished video for YouTube. And the Facebook Live always gets the most engagement and is actually better because your personality just seems to shine through a lot more that way. So it's funny how that works.
And how important is that? You talk about the personality. I think so often we see copycats or wannabes. They see a style, whether it's Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone. And then you see kind of these copycats that try to be them, and it just doesn't come off right. What do you tell your clients as far as coming from the heart and being authentic?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky. I love the idea of modeling. Tony always says that it's like success leaves clues and modeling. So there's a place and a point where that does come in. Like it helps you, like getting a starting point instead of a blank screen. But straight copy and imitating, it never comes off as real, and you lose the ability to really connect and build rapport with people because you don't. Even if they didn't even know who Gary Vee was or whoever, it just doesn't. You don't feel that connection because it's not really you. So I think just being yourself is usually always the best way to go. Very few, if ever, have I found that not to the case. So yeah, it's like, just like the book, like Steal Like an Artist, like inspiration is one thing, but just straight imitation is never going to work.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I actually changed the show as well, is because it went originally from a podcast. We were just doing the audio. So I said, all right, what can I do that I can do a video? One, we get the opportunity to look at each other. There's more of an engagement here when you can actually see the other person. I do all calls that way as well. Anytime I have a prospect call, I always want to jump on Zoom versus just a phone call. So that connection, I think, is really important. But then what you can do is you can take the video, which we're going to be doing here, and we're going to be taking the audio piece, putting that to the podcast. The video will go up on YouTube. It'll go up on Facebook, and you can use it in different areas. And then actually what we're doing, talking about content, is we're actually coming out with a book. I don't know if it's going to be end of this year or beginning of next year, where we're taking the 600 of our episodes, and we're going to come up with digital marketing chapter. We're going to come up with a health and fitness chapter. We're going to come up with sales. We're going to come up with mindset. We're going to have all these different chapters. And then the best ideas that have come out of the podcast over the years, and just condense that into kind of a Cliff Notes version. So
I love that. It's a great idea.
Yeah, I stole it. All my great ideas I steal.
Steal like an artist.
I was at ClickFunnels, and somebody was talking about it. They said, first book, if you have any content out there, don't redo or start a whole book from scratch. What do you already have out there that you can then use? And you can use it over and over and over again. So
yeah, that's a great point. Like a lot of times it's what we're already doing or what we're like naturally great at, which is where you should start. So one that I love like coaching or just asking questions. That's when I get in my zone of genius and like rapid fire. Like sometimes I listen back to stuff and I'm like, wow, I am a genius. Like I don't even know where this stuff comes from normally like that. And it would never, so my normal thought process, it should be. But so like my favorite way of producing content is doing like coaching video, like just like we'd be doing right now, but you'd be asking me questions and I'm actually like coaching you on how to incorporate this within your business. Because then if there's just, I think when there's a real, like you're actually doing something for real, it makes it so much like more valuable than just sometimes just teaching it as kind of like an elusive idea. But if it's real, like we're actually tangibly like talking about a problem or an issue or something you're trying to create, I think it makes it more fun.
And that's what I love about the online content as well, because, most entrepreneurs that I run into, they have a sense, most of them want to make money. Some actually don't care about making money. I don't understand that mindset. Even if you're all about, saving the world, a few extra dollars to help save the world is probably a good thing as well.
Yeah.
But, when you get into this mindset of, and most have it, is how can I help? Those are the ones that are successful. If you're trying to figure out what to get, that never works. It's what can I give? What can I give? What can I give? And when you give so much, the money just flows back to you. I'm sure you see that all the time. And when you create these courses, and this is one of the reasons I started the podcast, is I wanted an avenue for all the things that I learned in my life. That's the way it originally started. It was just kind of my own content. Is I wanted it to live somewhere where somebody somewhere saw it, heard it, and then they did something with it, and it made a major impact on their life. And that's what's great about today's environment is when you create a course, it lives forever. And it may not affect someone today. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. So I think it's so important to get your message out there. And from a scalability standpoint, it just makes total sense.
Definitely.
So what are some of the mistakes that you've seen entrepreneurs, businesses do? And it's like, all right, we're going to go into the online course business. They commit to it. What are some of the mistakes people make?
I think the most common mistake would be trying to pack everything that you know into this course, and with the idea or the philosophy that more is better. And when in reality is people want to get to the outcome sooner, sooner rather than later, in the quickest amount of time possible. So you want to include as much as you need to in order to get them to that end outcome, but not anymore. And that really the mindset needs to be solely thinking about action. Like what actions do my customers need to take in order to get to that desired result? And then you build the content around what those core action items are. And the biggest difference, I think, between like a book or a webinar or another type of modality of learning and an online course is that a book is you're consuming information a little bit more passively, where an online course is it's all about like actually implementation in my opinion. So the courses that are able to get people to actually implement what it is that they're teaching, those customers are going to get results. And the ones that get results are then going to want to come back and buy from you over and over again. Like tell everyone how amazing your course is. And just everything starts to kind of catapult from there. So I think that's the biggest mistake. Number one is going in it with the intention of teaching something or providing information, when in reality it's people want the outcome. If they didn't have to learn anything, they'd probably rather just skip over that whole part and just get to the actual outcome. Doesn't usually work that way. There has to be some type of learning and something taught, but it's all, everything you put in there is there's a reason behind it. Secondly, I think a big mistake is not putting enough attention and importance on like how you're structuring the content from like a design standpoint. So how you're laying things out, like making sure that the navigation's really clear and easy to move through the course, giving people reminders and staying on top of mind awareness, like to come back and consume the content where they left off. There's a lot of ways that you can incorporate psychology and just like leverage human like behavior to increase the likelihood that your customers are going to get those results. So that would be number two. And then number three would probably be just not having a plan to actually like promote it. So you, like the intention of if I build it, they will come is not like a winning strategy there.
No. When I first launched the podcast, I had one listener, my mom. And I remember when we were first launching, of course, I had the hats, I had the T-shirts, everywhere I went, I had that. People were asking about it. They were downloading the episodes. And then I was having a beer at the local pub. I'm like, wait a second, there's people everywhere here. I said, these are listeners. So I put up a sign right next to the cash register, free beer. And the bartender said, anybody ask for a free beer, they get a free beer, but they got to download the episodes and they got to start listening and leave a review.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so our first 100 reviews were beer or alcohol induced.
Those are probably the best ones.
That's right. They're like, this guy's great. You got to download this guy.
Yeah.
And back to what you said about, really getting to that result is, the pharmaceutical industry uses what they call minimum effective dose. And they want just enough that's necessary in order to get the outcome. And I think so often leaders and business leaders tend to just keep going and going and going. It's like, all right, I got the point. Now let's just figure out what to execute on. Let's get to the next piece.
Yeah.
Some companies, and I, quite frankly, I did not do enough research. I apologize to dig in as much as I could have, but I wanted to know, is your programs in your system more of, here's the information, you go do it, or is this, hey, tell us what you want done, we'll do it for you? Or where do
for our actual clients?
Yes.
So the clients will be responsible for actually creating the content, and then we'll help implement it and make it look beautiful, actually building the membership site, and then incorporating all the automation needed to like make it work. So that when someone purchases, everything happens automatically in the back end. And then for a few select clients, I'll be more involved in the actual like instructional design and strategy of how to lay out the course, and incorporating things like gamification. So I don't do that too often, just because I don't, again, like that's very much like me dependent versus building the platforms. I have my whole team that we can do that.
Got it.
And then through my own online courses, because I'd be a hypocrite if I did not sell online courses, I teach everything from like beginning to end for people that want to learn. I guess it's my thought process and how the best way to structure your course, like how to create the videos that look professional, like what lighting, what camera, all of that jazz.
Do you have like a bloopers section, all the things that, got messed up?
Oh, I mean, I have a bunch of, like personally, I could put those together. There's a lot of them, I'm sure.
I'm kind of liking this. It's like, with the trainer, I actually had him do, he had pro tips of the day. He actually has Failure Friday. This is what you don't do in the gym.
Oh, that's smart.
It's even smarter. I'm pretty good at this. So I said, we're going to do this on Fridays. And he's like, who am I going to find in the gym that is going to mess up doing these exercises? I'm like, me? He's like, why do you want to be in these videos with all the messed up exercises? I said, you have 250,000 followers. I'd be more than happy to get tagged on your Failure Fridays.
Yeah.
So, and they've actually turned out to be his most popular segments of the week.
I bet.
What are these two morons going to do today?
Yeah.
So that's my idea for you. Throw a bloopers reel up there.
Of my
like
or my clients.
Failures. It's like, don't do this, or like the cat's running in the background, or
Oh yeah.
Some reminders of what not to do when you're creating courses and filming.
Oh gosh, it's so funny. So many.
Most popular episodes.
We've had them like in Second City here in Chicago, like putting a camera on a stool on a table, trying to makeshift a tripod. It's so funny.
That's hilarious. Well, Megan, I really appreciate this. Oh, you know what I want to point out to the audience as well? We were talking a little bit before we got on air, and you were really providing these services to some amazing organizations. We mentioned earlier that we met at Tony Robbins, and I saw for those listening on the podcast, she has a t-shirt on that says Firewalker. And we got into a little bit more detail, and she's actually now doing some work for Tony Robbins. She is the genius behind the online courses coming up. So, Matt, how did you manifest that?
Yeah, well, I was telling you, like, ever since I am UPW, Unleash the Power Within, I told people all the time, like, Tony and I are going to work together. I'm going to create his courses. He just doesn't know it yet. And so it was just crazy, and I can't really say it. It was about 6 months ago. We were working on this project, and Dean Graziasi, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. The product is one of the best courses that I've ever come across, and it has the potential to, I really think, change the world, to open up this whole new industry. And the amount of work that we put into the gamification and using those psychological triggers we talked about, and the design, it's such a beautiful platform as well. I think it's really gonna set the bar to a whole new level.
Yeah, I know. Well, at least I actually got my packet in the mail, and I see that Russell Brunson's on there as well. So he's joined this. So you got Tony Robbins, you got Dean, and you have Russell Brunson. Yep,
wow. It's like a powerhouse.
And Meg,
yep.
Come on, it doesn't get any better than that.
I know, it's like magic.
Last one I want to end on here, because I've taken enough of your time today. Thanks for coming on the show. I know you've got a lot of things and a lot of projects going on. Thank you for making the time to be here.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
No, absolutely. One of the things that I didn't understand when we started to do this and we started talking to people that were putting out these online courses and so forth is I thought they had the whole thing done before they did anything, before they made any announcement. And what I found out is many in the industry create a teaser or create, an idea. Hey, this is the course that's going to be coming. They get the interest in the course. They'll even sell the course, and then they actually start creating it as they go on. So I don't know how many of your clients actually do this, or do you recommend this strategy or not, but it seems to me anyway, it doesn't all have to be figured out before you start going.
Yeah, just taking action sooner than later. I mean, my favorite way of doing that is so not necessarily positioning it that the course is ready before you start selling it, but just being transparent and upfront that you want to co-create it with people who are going to be the founding members. And so I have a lot of clients that have done that. It's the founding member version of it. And so you might have some of the content created, or you just do them all live trainings like this together. And then you use that as a stepping stone or that first draft for the course, and then can sell it from there. So that's one of my favorite ways to just get it going.
And I noticed on your website, you got tons of resources on all the different components that you need. I saw one that I started to shiver because it was something I used 8 years ago, and it turned out to be more of a paperweight, even though it was software, than anything else. And that was Infusionsoft. So if you can figure out Infusionsoft, you are way smarter than I am. No question about it. That has to be, if you can figure out that system, it's a great system, extremely robust. But as a business owner trying to run his business and then trying to understand that, It was way too much. It turned out to be, like I said, we had 6,000 clients in there. But it was kind of like I don't know.
A paperweight.
Yeah, it was like a contact list. But it could do all kinds of things. We just couldn't figure out how to work. So anyway, Megan, thank you very much for joining us. Tell the audience how they can get in touch with you.
Through my website, megankharrison.com, and then my social media is all the same at Megan K. Harrison, and we can stay in touch.
Terrific. Megan, thanks for coming on today, and have an amazing week.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.